You can find them on Twitter, you can find them on the gram. After listening to their podcast, you'll be sitting there like, damn, taking their teaching from one level to the next, reaching up to Canada and down
let's
to
jump
Mexico.
So for us, I guess, does somebody want to take on like just kind of talking about what the SDGs are? And I'm saying, Dr. Williams, like, you know, would you want to just kind of talk to that? And like I said, you were the one who inspired Joe and I to really take hold and do these things. I think probably have inspired a lot of people to do the same. So
no, thanks. I love that session. Those 2 sessions actually when we were together, Rewire. That was a great conference. So, and I can kind of even share what the SDGs are, but really just even my journey in coming to them.
Sure.
My background, I was at a Montessori world school. So any of your listeners familiar with Montessori, it's a practice that incorporates peace curriculum, world studies, geography, really building our students as global citizens. And so we were early adopters with technology. And so we got iPads very early on and not really having an idea of how to use them or like a book to show us the way or a Twitter PLN to help us figure it out. This was like 2011 maybe. And so we said, let's align our tech integration to our mission of global ed. And so we did that, and we were able to connect our students to classes around the world. We were able to work on problems of significance. We did do some work with the UN on like Model UN. Anyone that does local Model UNs, if you don't know, the UN also does the International Model UN. So you can actually go to New York City and go in the General Assembly Hall and participate in, I think it was 3 days. We did that one year. And you're part of like the UN experience. We did the middle school one. So really believing in that. And then when I left in 2018, I was like, this is it. This is the way. I really think global ed is our future. And so putting in at conferences to talk about this work, and nobody's showing up. No, everybody's like, that's kind of a nice to have. But I'm busy and I have to work on and assessments, and I have classroom management issues, and so it's just not really something that I can focus on right now. I'm happy that someone is. So for me, it was really that just teachers didn't see themselves in that conversation at the time. So a lot of other groups would say, okay, but you also have experience in tech integration, or you have experience in learning space design or design thinking, so have me come in for that, and that is my entry point to start talking about global ed. But in 2015, when the United Nations and us as a world, so these are goals that we all together have agreed upon, came together and said, these are 17 goals, 17 sustainable development goals, sometimes as the SDGs, sometimes known as the global goals. This is our roadmap. This will be our plan that we're all together going to work towards by 2030 to achieve for people and planet. And so if you look at the Global Goals poster, and it has these brilliant colors and these amazing icons, and it really breaks down the challenges we as a world are facing in digestible bite-sized pieces. And so something about those goals for us in the space, we were like, this could be the entry point in for all teachers. So we sent out a tweet, and it's just kind of crazy story, but we sent out a tweet. The UN responded. They said, please come. We'd like to answer that question as well of who's doing the work in this space and how can we bring educators into this dialogue, and then join at the UN. And it's kind of been going from 2 educators to 4 to now over 40,000 that are working every day to bring the global goals into classrooms. So what we're also starting to see is a lot of other groups, which is great. So ed tech, forward-thinking educators by design, kind of. So we're seeing a lot of things happening and bubbling up in ed tech spaces where ed tech companies and other organizations are really starting to see that the SDGs can be a pathway to them too. So there's a sense there. There's a lot of and a lot of movement happening. So
thanks for listening to the Teaching Nerds podcast. Keep up with every new episode by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts,
Anchor, or anywhere you listen. Remember to visit teachernerds.com, and that's nerds with a Z. Follow us on Twitter @TeacherNerds and on Instagram @TeacherNerdsPodcast. And thank you for being one of the Teacher Nerds.